In the future, global warming has caused the rapid melting of glaciers, leading to rising sea levels. Those who have managed to survive have adapted to this new reality. The walls surrounding the city are keeping the water at bay, but even this is only delaying the inevitable. Nicholas, a former veteran, has become a private detective. He uses a special substance, a container that was originally designed for interrogations. With the future now bleak, people have turned to the past for hope. Utes activates the device, creating a hologram of Hank's thoughts when he was able to walk his dog. More play, bring the ball. For these moments, Hank is willing to give up all his money. Nick cannot charge him, for which Hank is very grateful. But here is to some hints that if Nick continues to talk on the house, they will have to close down. Nick does not see a problem with this. There will always be a demand for the past. There is one downside. If you abuse the old, it will consume you. At the end of the day, Nick is about to go home, but May enters his establishment. She says she lost her keys on the way and wants to know where they are. She asks for a repairman, but Nick is willing to help. It's important to understand that memory doesn't store things that she didn't notice. M still stands her ground. When M enters the program, she must follow Nick's voice closely. He starts by guiding her up. Before leaving the house, M took her keys. In the next memory, she still had her keys. While she was looking for her lucky earrings in the dressing room, the key fell under the table. In fact, they found out what May wanted. However, Nick wanted to see what would happen next. As May walked down the hallway, she began to cry, but she gathered her thoughts and walked out to the people who were waiting for her to sing. Nick was amazed and listened to the entire song before turning off the equipment. After May left, Voss mentioned that their client had forgotten her earrings and handed them to Nick. The shift has been so long that it's already morning outside. As the sun rises, people are hiding in the shade as the sun is scorching. Even though people have switched to Nick, the shift has been so long that it's already morning outside. As the sun rises, people hide in the shadows as the sun is scorching hot. Even though people have adapted to a nocturnal lifestyle, it's still difficult to fall asleep. As the sun sets, life returns to the city. It's evident that in such conditions, people have divided into castes, and the lower levels are increasingly prone to rebellion. Businessman Walter wants to acquire land at a low price, and to reduce the prices, he burns down houses. Prosecutor Avery didn't like it, because people died because of his actions. Walter won't say anything. To prove it, he has to undergo a memory session. But that won't happen. Even the prosecutor can't do anything about it. The law doesn't apply to people like Walter. Nick overhears Walter asking Sebastian's son if he's found a girlfriend, and the son replies, no. During the first wars, magnates like Walter bought up land for next to nothing, profiting from the poor, handing them over to the tide. The migrants survive as best they can. But one day the ocean will take absolutely everything. In the meantime, the flooded shore replaces their home. Nick arrives at the bar where May is performing. She notices him immediately. When the guests have left, Nick returns the earring and praises her voice. May says she's been performing here for 4 years, and Nick was the first person to notice her voice. There's one moment that keeps playing in Nick's head. Why was she crying? May attributes it to the nerves she gets before every performance. People don't want to see a girl struggling to make ends meet, dressed in secondhand clothes. They want something flawless. They want to be deceived. However, Nick doesn't see any falsehood here. Nick takes May home after the show, and suddenly, he wakes up at his workplace. Oh, there you are again. It turns out that he's been reminiscing for months. He needs to forget about the past and live in the present. Nick doesn't understand why she's gone. They had plans for a future together. People don't just disappear. What if she's in trouble? Saint responds that they're also facing challenges. New technologies are emerging, and they're receiving fewer orders. And Dumbledore is about to, why is she gone? Because they were planning a future together. People don't just disappear. What if she's in trouble? Sant replies that they're in trouble too. New technologies are emerging, and they're getting fewer orders. Dumbledore is going to break, and they're going to sink without a lifeline. Nick can't shake the thought that people don't just disappear. He checks her place of work, but gets the same answers. Her friends don't know anything either. After waiting for him to fall asleep, Nick personally immersed himself in the system. In this memory, they were resting on dry ground. Nick noticed a bruise on May's arm. She said it was a work-related injury. She accidentally hit the table. Then Nick confessed that he loved her. What was the matter? Tomorrow he would discover an astonishing find by Sergey. Near his office, a couple visited the prosecutor to earn extra money. Her name was Mr. Fox. They say he worked for St. Joe's biggest drug dealer. If there's any useful information in Fox's head, an arrest warrant can be issued. The basic approach of pulling out thoughts didn't work. His brain is on the verge of death and wants to see the best moments. Nick changes his approach to create memories from the bar. Nick was amazed to see MJ. This memory was saved 5 years ago. Nick asked to see the last time he saw this girl. By then, Mai was already involved with Joe and had become addicted to the substance. Moreover, she had robbed Joe and knocked out Fox. Nick had a theory about where she might be, which led him to New Orleans, where Joe was operating. He immediately recognized the military man in front of him. As Joe was a refugee, he despised the soldiers who guarded the walls. Nick was captured and subdued. If he didn't want to die, he needed to reveal his purpose for coming here. Nick admits that he is looking for a woman. Joe hasn't seen May since she ran away. That's how Nick would have been killed if Voss hadn't come to the rescue. A fight ensues from which the couples emerge victorious. On the last day, when May came to the UTS, she confessed that she had an addiction and didn't say anything. The couples come out as winners. On the last day, when May came to UTS, she admitted that she had an addiction and didn't tell Nick anything. UTS doesn't judge her, as she also had an addiction. Nick doesn't understand how she could get addicted when May was there, as she took the access keys and went to the vault. The password for the safe is not a number, but a melody. It's likely that May spent a long time studying it to find the correct melody. After checking the data, they don't find Elsa's card. Nick arrives at Elsa's place, but she is already dead. A girl tells him that a guy attacked Elsa and a red-haired girl was holding her son. Now Nick finally understands who May was. During his search, he is attacked by a corrupt cop named Cyrus, who orders him to forget about May. He was seen in the footage with Joe. That evening, Walter is killed. People hoped that his empire would fall, but it was inherited by his wife and son. Nick knows Tamara. She came to the session when they first opened. Thanks to her memory, they realized that Walter used Elsa and wanted to clean up the mess before he died. Because of Nick's obsession with finding May, he's fighting with the OS. Rich families build additional dams around themselves, which divert water to poor areas. To get there, Nick passes through roadblocks. Tamara greets her husband's Nick. This is due to the fact that burnt-out people adjust their reality to themselves. Nick brings her back and finds out that Walter ordered Elsa's death, and Cyrus is where all the scum are. She orders Nick's elimination, but the guards notice his tattoo. They were also soldiers, which leads to Nick's release. With a hint, Nick finds Cyrus and a random girl. Cyrus doesn't deny that he and Mai robbed Nick. They did it to survive. In the New World, there's no concept of good or evil. Since Nick can't kill him to preserve his memory, Cyrus gets up and runs away. Nick quickly catches up with him, and they start fighting in the flooded house. When Cyrus thinks he's won, he relaxes, giving Nick the opportunity to. When Cyrus decided that he had won, he relaxed, giving Nick the opportunity to inject the substance. In the past, Cyrus found May after she escaped from Joe. In order to prevent him from betraying her, she needed his help. May began collecting all the available information about Nick. Everything that Nick saw was part of a well-thought-out plan. When Cyrus had the card, he went to deal with Elsa. Be grateful for that. However, May saved the boy and took him away on a boat. After a while, May came to the book, but he didn't open the door. So May planted an earring. To prevent Cyrus from finding the boy, May had to disappear. No. Cyrus deserved what he got. Nick took him back to the day when Joe took revenge on him and turned the power up to the max, making it his last day. Later, Nick broke into Walter's house. In the memories, Walter loved Elsa and tried to find her. But Sebastian didn't want to share the inheritance, so he hired Cyrus. Cyrus had Sebastian's phone number, so Sebastian couldn't escape. Sebastian offered to negotiate. When he received the inheritance, he would pay as Sebastian, but Nick wasn't interested. It would be better if the money was given to his brother, Freddie. The police had found Sebastian, and they were about to recreate the crime. Nick then visited Voss to share his memories. The news of the crime had spread throughout the city. The anger towards the land magnates has been building up for too long. But Nick won't know what happens next. He gets into the car to spend eternity with May. This is the end of the movie. We'd love for you to like it. We'll be back soon. Bye for now.